Now I'm joined by Johnny Doyle, Kildare's captain, ahead of Kildare's quarter-final against Donegal on Saturday, which will take place in Croke Park. Johnny, you're very welcome. First of all, I have to ask, how are things with you? How was Saturday's game? How are you after it?
Yeah, not too bad. The next day you'd be a bit stiff and sore, but we got into the sea on Sunday. That sort of
the whole team got into the sea, did they?
Yeah, went up for a swim to Portmarnock and had a bit of food and a bit of crack. It was grand. The weather was good, so freshens up the body, and so you're back training now tonight and getting ready for the weekend. It's great. 6
points at the weekend. I know all from freeze, but 6 points at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, look at this. I suppose when you're taking the freeze, you're expected to kick them all, and some days they go over and you feel great, and some days they don't, and you're just hoping that the days they don't, you have enough to spare to get over the line. But they seem to go well at the weekend, but it's all about getting them right the next day now, and hopefully we can do that.
6 points, but also your 50th consecutive championship point for Kildare, which is you've scored a point for every championship game since 2001. That is pretty impressive, Johnny Doyle, I have to say.
Yeah, well, I suppose, look, it's not something you think about a huge amount, Maureen, to be honest, but it was highlighted to me coming up to the week before the match that that would be the I suppose the record as such, and it's not something you still have. When you put the ball down to kick it over, you don't be thinking about things like that. You remind yourself to, you'd have a certain routine and you just go through that, and it's some days to go over, there's some days to don't, but it's something I don't really think about. Probably appreciate it maybe more when I'm old. And I was going to say grey, but I'm nearly that anyway.
Well, actually, another even impressive point is the only two games you haven't scored championship games is against Louth, and against Galway. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
So they're the only two games that you haven't scored points. That is really, really impressive. And obviously, you got Player of the Year last year, and then 2 years previous to that in 2009. So, you're just. If you super technique that you
lucky I did. No, look at, I suppose a lot of, I suppose when you're hitting freeze, you tend to get on the score sheet, like the boys will be slagging me on another handy 14-yard free for you to tap over, which is always a good old banter. But look at it's I suppose again, you don't get too hung up on it. It's your job to do, and you try to do that. Another
record you have is that you've been, touch wood if we have any wood around us, but you've been injury free.
Yeah,
which is great, which is quite unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Lucky enough with injuries, like when you see the list of injuries we have at the moment, like very, very easy how they happened, like Dermot and Peter Kelly and Hugh Lynch being delayed. Just so easy happened. I've been terribly lucky that way. So I think that's a big thing as well. You can. A small little knock and you could be gone for the year, and that's how tight it is. So I think that's a big factor, is the fact that I've been very lucky with injury.
And just talking about injuries, we spoke to Dermot about it last week when we talked to him. The cruise sheet seems to be a huge problem with GAA this year. There's a lot of players gone out from all counties, from a lot of counties. What do you think? What would you think the problem is, or do you think it couldn't be just unlucky? A lot of them are attacking players though as well. So.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's hard to know. I mean, there's obviously a few factors, like they talk about the blades and the boots, and a lot of the sand-based pitches now.
Yeah, sand-based pitches are only in the last year or two.
Exactly.
2 years.
Yeah, where like even when you come home from training now, there's no muck in the gear, as opposed to when you might be training a wet night in Alan Wood, you come home and the gear will be just filthy because there's no sand. It's just it's raw earth, where there's no, you're not bringing clumps of muck in anymore. The pitches are a lot firmer, and I think another big factor is the speed of the game. I mean, even since I've started, the way everything is done on speed now, and the strength and conditioning all geared towards pace, and I think that's a big factor in it as well. So there's a few things probably contribute to it, but it is a big problem in the GAA.
Now back to Saturday. This is your 5th game in a row. Would you prefer to do the games and gain momentum, or would you prefer? Well, obviously we'd all prefer to have a Leinster, but would you prefer to have the break and then go into it? Are you tired? Or are you more worked up? Which way does it work?
No, you have plenty of time to recover in a week. I mean, training. The one thing good about matches is you're not doing any grueling training sessions. You're just getting yourself right, playing a bit of football, and limbering up during the week and trying to stay sharp, and so that can be an advantage as well. Again, it's hard to know, like when you win, it's the momentum. When you lose, the 6 days or the 7 days is not enough time. So people put their own spin on it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think like the one thing GAA players they want to do is play football, and coming every week is on a personal level I enjoy it. It's the one thing you want to be doing is playing football in the summer and this time of year and getting big games in Croke Park. Sure, what else would you want? Like,
you're a popular player off the pitch. Obviously, the fans love you. You're a popular player on the pitch because even Geezer spoke out up as quick as yesterday, and he said like every player just surrounds you now, don't they? Did you find Saturday's game hard, especially?
Well, I suppose I suppose when you're playing midfield now, you'd be known as maybe an attacking midfielder trying to get forward. Yeah. Because you've probably played in the forward, and people would presume that you're just going to get forward. And look, you do get a bit of attention, but that's part and parcel of it. I mean, it comes down to really when you go out to mark someone, or it's a personal battle between you and him, and he wants to get the better of you, and you want to get the better of him, and that's part and parcel of it. And unfortunately, if you'd love to get out and nobody marking you, you could go out and kick ball. But look, you don't worry too much about it, and you just worry about the next game.
How do you like your new position? I know you played for Alan Wood, but how do you like it for Kildare? Would you prefer full forward or prefer midfield?
It's the one thing about being out. You're in the action hall. You get on plenty of ball, and you can sort of get back and cover and get forward and try support. So you would be. You probably don't have to be as disciplined as such in the fact that if you're playing the half forward and you have to stay there and you have to be available for as an outlet of coming out of half backs or whatever, where you have a bit more of a looser role around the middle. So it can be rewarding in that way that you get on plenty of ball and you see plenty of the action.
Donegal got a hugely defensive team though, aren't they? You're especially going to find it hard on Saturday because they're very focused on their defence, aren't they? Yeah,
they are. I mean, they've brought, in fairness to Jimmy McGuinness, he's brought a new style of play to the Donegal team, but it's successful. I mean, they've won the Division 2 title, something we wanted to do when we sat down at the start of the year. We said we want to win our division, and we couldn't do that. People have their own idea about that, different injuries or this, that and the other, but at the end of the day we set out to win the Division 2 of the league, and we couldn't do it. So they've done that. They've brought the first Ulster title since '92 back to Donegal. So there's a lot of, they're after ticking a lot of boxes. We would have set out to win the Leinster Championship, and again, regardless of refereeing decisions or this man injured or that, we still couldn't do that.
It's
in fairness to Donegal, anything they've got, any competition they've been in so far, they've won it. And I'm sure that they'll be saying the same thing about the All Ireland series. They see themselves as realistic contenders of winning the All Ireland, and you can't deviate from that too much. The style of play, while the traditionalists mightn't like it, it's not open, free flowing football, but it's working for them, and they do it very effectively, and they're very, very hard to break down. I mean, a lot of you don't put up a lot of scores against Donegal the way they play, but they know what they're about, and they do it very effectively, and you'd have to say hats off to them.
Prediction for Saturday?
Prediction, I suppose. Look, you only, as a sport person, you only think about winning, and that's the only thing.
That's what you work toward.
Yeah, absolutely, and I suppose that's maybe why when it doesn't work out, it's such a big fall. You don't think about anything else, only winning, and that's regardless of what sport you play. You just want to win, and you want to be the best at that sport. And we'd be no different in Kildare. We want to be the best.
That's a good answer.
And we want to be the last one standing.
That's it. Moving on to club. Do you miss playing for Alan Wood? Do you miss?
You do.
Because clashes big time, doesn't it?
Yeah, you do. I mean, that's. I suppose there's a lot of high points in playing with Kildare, and I always love representing my county. But that's probably the disadvantage is that you don't get to play with your club as much as you like. I mean, the club is where everyone starts and everyone finishes. And regardless of who's manager or who's chairman or whatever, it's my club as much as anyone else's, and that's what makes it a club great. I think it's only as good as the people collecting at the gate or people serving behind the bar or cleaning out the dressing rooms. You need everybody doing a job, and for me it's I mean, I've been involved in Alan Woods since my earliest memories of going down with my dad down to the field, and a lot of work was done down through the years, putting up nets and putting up fence and all that, and we'd have the pictures at home, and you'd be down there picking stones off the new field when it was done, and all that sort of thing is all memories of being in the club. And I've no doubt when I'm finished playing with Kildare, whenever that is, it's something I'll get back doing and get back playing with the club and helping out at underage or getting involved in the committees down there or whatever the case may be. But I do love being around the club. It's a great club, and I know everyone says that about their club, and rightly so. But I'm very proud to be a member of Allenwood Club, and anything, I know I'll have a lot more input as the years go on. Because
we talked to a lot of supporters, and they said you're more even sometimes a club man than you would be a county man. So that is a credit. Back to Kildare. The juniors, obviously, as I said to Dermot last week, the juniors obviously won Leinster. It's great to see, and Geezer's a huge part of bringing them through, isn't it? And bringing players through. Like, see, like the James Kavanaghs and the Rob Kellys and even Hughie Lynch and the O'Flahertys and all those lads have just come right through, haven't they? And he's a huge part of that.
Yeah, he is. I mean, with the juniors set up, I mean, the juniors, I suppose, it had a couple of advantages. Like years ago, it was only for junior clubs and intermediate clubs. Where now it is actually a second team where senior club players can play in the competition. And that's a big plus. But Kieran has used it as a sort of stepping stone from, I suppose, maybe to try bridge that gap between under 21 maybe and seniors. Albeit there's a few more experienced players sprinkled throughout the team, but he's used it with the help of with the big help of Tony Kelly. In fairness, he's used that as a springboard, and a lot of players have come through that. We saw Peter Kelly last year played all during the winter with the juniors and ended up by the end of the year an all-star, which is phenomenal for journey for him. And like that, Hugh Lynch played the first round of the championship for the juniors and ended up in the seniors. So, and plus for players along, they see these examples happening every day, and they say, I wouldn't mind taking that route either, and that's why they're putting in. And they put in huge effort, as much effort as the seniors. I mean, I watched them train. They're in the gym and they're doing huge work. Success breeds success. And if lads get used to winning, and younger lads come on and see what's happening, and they want to be part of that, and that's the important thing as well. So it has worked out very well, and please God, look, they're in a semi-final now, and wouldn't it be great if it could go on and go the whole way.
Yeah, especially for the likes of Mikey Conway, who came back from his injury. The juniors was a great stepping stone for him, though, too, wasn't it? To bring springboard him back, rather.
Yeah, exactly. Because Mikey's had been out for a long time, and it's not as easy as he got the injury, right? But he's to try to get the fitness up. Like there's one thing being fit, and then there's been match fit as well, getting your eye and getting judgment, and trying to pick your position and sense, and all that thing takes time, and it's given Mikey a great opportunity to find his feet and get back, and he's pushing really, really hard to get into the senior squad now, which is fantastic for us. I'm
going to do a bit of a rapid fire buzz around. So basically what happens is I'm going to fire at least 6 questions to you. Well, 4 or 5, 6 questions. And I just want you just to, off the top of your head, so that way we know you're telling the truth. Okay. Who's the first on the dance floor when you go out?
It was Killian Brennan, but I'd say now it's Hugh McGrillen.
Who spends longest in the mirror?
Oh, I would say Emmett Bolton.
Who spends longest fixing their hair?
Again, I'd say Emmett Bolton.
Who's the joker of the team?
Brian Flanagan.
Who's the first to train
in? Probably Ona Flaherty.
Who's the last to train
in? Again, Emmett Bolton would probably be holding up the pack there.
Who gets in most trouble with Geezer?
Darrell Flynn.
Darrell Flynn. Okay, Johnny Doyle, thank you very much for talking to us, and the very best luck on Saturday.
Thanks a million.
Thank you.